Hi, I'm Erin Tate, 38, an ER nurse in Houma, Louisiana. It's one of those small bayou towns where everyone knows everyone, and when a hurricane hits, the whole place either floods or evacuates. I work nights in the emergency room, triage, IVs, trauma bays, the usual chaos. People think it's just bandaging cuts and handing out meds, but when the storms roll in, it's nonstop. If I step away for a minute, someone else has to cover, and the line never gets shorter. I have a 16-year-old daughter. She's smart, quiet, the kind who overthinks everything and apologizes before she's even done anything wrong. She tries to stay invisible so no one has to deal with her. My husband has always backed me up, but the real issue has always been my family, my parents, and my sister who lives with them rent-free with her 3 kids. They've never treated my daughter the same way. She's always been the extra one, the temporary guest, the one who can wait. For years I've quietly covered things for them. The mortgage payments, their health insurance premiums, even college tuition for one of my sister's daughters. I told myself it was family. I thought it was normal. Then the hurricane came. Evacuation orders went out. I was stuck on shift at the hospital, so I sent my daughter to stay with my parents. It was supposed to be safe there. I got the call late that night in the middle of a packed trauma bay. Her voice was small. "Mom, they said there's no room. They wouldn't let me in. My sister and the kids are already there. They just closed the door." I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I canceled everything. 2 weeks later they were begging. If you've ever been the one holding up your whole family while they treat yours like an afterthought, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. This story gets real fast. The evacuation order came in the middle of my shift. Sirens were going off outside. Patients were piling up in the hallways, and the charge nurse kept yelling for more beds. I barely had time to breathe, let alone think about anything else. My phone buzzed in my pocket once, twice, 3 times. I ignored it until a lull between codes. When I finally checked, Fern's name was on the screen. I stepped into the supply closet, closed the door, and answered. Her voice was small and shaky. "Mom, they said there's no room. They wouldn't open the door. Aunt Erin and the kids are already inside." I stood there holding the phone so tight my knuckles turned white. "What do you mean no room? They knew you were coming. They told me to leave." I rang the bell. I knocked. Grandma looked out the window and just shook her head. I waited on the porch for a while, but no one came back. I didn't know what to do. I told her to stay put, that I would call Aunt Sierra right away. Sierra's place was only 15 minutes from my parents' house. She picked up on the first ring. "Erin, what's wrong?" I explained fast. "Fern's outside their gate. They wouldn't let her in. Can you go get her?" Sierra didn't hesitate. "I'm leaving now. Text me the address again if you have it. I'll bring her home with me." "Thank you." I hung up and called Fern back. "Aunt Sierra's coming. Go to the corner store on Maple if you need to wait inside. Call me when you're with her." "Okay. Mom." Her voice cracked at the end. "I love you." "Love you too." I slid the phone back into my pocket and walked out of the closet like nothing happened. The next patient was already being wheeled in. The rest of the shift blurred. More rain, more leaks in the roof, more people with water in their lungs. When I finally clocked out at dawn, I drove straight to Sierra's. Fern was asleep on the couch under a quilt. Sierra met me at the door with coffee. "She looks exhausted." I nodded. She shouldn't have had to go through that. Sierra sat down beside me. "Your mom said something about the house being full." I told her Fern could stay here as long as needed. No questions. I stared at my daughter. She looked smaller than usual. I should never have sent her there. I thought they would at least open the door. Sierra put her hand on my shoulder. "You couldn't have known. But now you do." That night after the call I couldn't sleep. The hospital was still running on emergency power, generators humming outside, but my mind was louder than any storm. Fern was safe with Aunt Sierra now. Sierra had texted me a photo. Fern wrapped in a blanket, sipping hot chocolate, looking small but breathing easier. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. I kept replaying her voice. "They just closed the door. No explanation. No sorry. Just gone." I thought about all the times I had let things slide. For 18 years I had been the reliable one. The one who sent checks without being asked. Mortgage payments so the house stayed in the family. Health insurance because Dad's doctor visits added up. College tuition for my niece because my sister said she was trying to get back on her feet. I never complained. I told myself it balanced out. They were family. They needed help. But help turned into expectation. Expectation turned into entitlement. And entitlement turned into turning my daughter away like she was a stranger asking for a handout. I remembered last Christmas. Fern had saved up from her part-time job to buy everyone small gifts. Handmade bookmarks for my mom, a custom keychain for my dad. She wrapped them carefully. When we visited, my mom opened them, smiled politely, and set them aside. Later that day, my niece got a new phone. My sister said it was a reward for good grades. Fern's gifts stayed on the coffee table until we left. No one mentioned them again. I told Fern it was fine. She nodded and never brought it up. But I saw the way her shoulders dropped. Another time she won a school science award. Regional level. She sent a photo to the family group chat. My dad replied with a thumbs up emoji 3 days later. An hour after that, my mom posted a picture of my niece at a dance recital. First place. Hearts. Comments. Shares. Fern's photo got nothing. I closed the chat and pretended it didn't sting. But it did. Every time. I thought about the money again. $30,000 a year easy. Mortgage, premiums, tuition. I had never asked for receipts. Never asked when it would stop. I just kept sending because I thought that's what daughters do. What good daughters do. The ones who don't make waves. The ones who fix problems instead of causing them. But fixing their problems had never fixed mine. It had only made them comfortable enough to decide my daughter wasn't worth a spare bedroom during a hurricane. I got up from the break room couch and walked to the window. Rain was still coming down sideways. The parking lot looked like a lake. I pulled out my phone and opened the banking app again. I had already stopped the automatic transfers that morning. But I went back in. I looked at the history. Years of transactions. Every month like clockwork. I didn't feel angry. I felt done. Like a subscription I had forgotten to cancel finally ran out. When my shift ended, I drove to Sierra's. Fern was awake now, sitting at the kitchen table with a sketch pad. She looked up when I walked in. Mom. I hugged her without saying anything. She hugged back tight. Sierra poured me coffee. We sat in silence for a while. Fern finally spoke. Aunt Sierra said I can stay as long as I want. I nodded. You can. And when the roads open, we'll go home. Our home. No more sending you anywhere you're not wanted. She smiled a little. No more waiting for doors to open. Sierra watched us. You did the right thing. I wasn't sure yet, but I knew I couldn't go back to the way it was. The rain kept falling outside, but inside Sierra's house it felt different. Quieter, safer. Like the storm had finally passed for us, even if the water was still rising everywhere else. The next morning, I opened my laptop at Sierra's kitchen table while Fern was still asleep on the couch. The rain had slowed to a steady drizzle, but the roads were still closed. Power flickered in and out. I made coffee with the last of Sierra's grounds and sat down. My banking app loaded slowly on the spotty Wi-Fi. I stared at the screen for a long minute. Then I started. First was the mortgage. Automatic transfer every first of the month. $3,200. I had set it up years ago when they refinanced. Dad said it was temporary. It never was. I clicked edit, changed the amount to 0. Confirmed. Gone. Next came the health insurance. I had added them to my hospital plan years back. Premiums came out of my paycheck. Dad's blood pressure meds. Mom's checkups. I went into the benefits portal, removed them as dependents. The system asked if I was sure. I clicked yes. Confirmation email arrived instantly. Done. Then the tuition. My niece's community college. I had been paying half the semester fees because my sister said she couldn't swing it. $4,000 twice a year. I logged into the college portal with the payer access I had set up. Removed my card. The balance due popped up immediately. I closed the tab. No second thoughts. Sierra walked in with fresh coffee. She saw my face. You did it. I nodded. All of it. She sat across from me. How do you feel? Lighter. Like I finally stopped carrying something that was never mine to carry. She smiled small. Good. Fern needs that. We both do. Fern woke up around 10. She came into the kitchen rubbing her eyes. Morning. I pulled out a chair for her. Sit. We need to talk. She sat down slowly. Is this about yesterday? Yeah. But not just yesterday. I told her everything. The money I had been sending for years. The way I had kept quiet because I thought that's what family did. The way they had treated her like an extra burden instead of a grandchild. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she looked at me steady. So you stopped it? All of it. Yes. No more mortgage. No more insurance. No more tuition. We're done. She nodded slowly. They're going to be mad. Probably. But that's their problem now. Not ours, or she thought about it. I don't want to go back there. You don't have to. Ever. We're making our own place. No waiting for permission. No proving we're worth it. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Okay. I squeezed back. Donald called that afternoon. He was at the hospital picking up extra shifts. I put him on speaker so Sierra could hear. You okay? Yeah. Fern's with me at Sierra's. Roads are still bad. He paused. Your mom called me. Said you stopped the transfers. I didn't answer right away. Yeah. I did. He exhaled. They're freaking out. Mortgage is due next week. Insurance too. I stayed quiet. Aaron, talk to me. What happened? They turned Fern away. During a hurricane. With evacuation orders. My sister and her kids are living there rent-free. And they told my daughter there was no room. Silence on his end. I didn't know it was that bad. You didn't ask. I didn't have to. Fern told me. And I believe her. He sighed. I get it. But cutting everything. That's nuclear. Maybe. But I've been paying for peace I never got. That ends now. He didn't argue. Just said call me if you need anything. I will. Love you. Love you too. I hung up. Sierra looked at me. You sure? Completely. Fern came back into the room with her sketchpad. She sat beside me. Mom? Yeah? Can we get a place with a bigger window? For drawing? I smiled. Absolutely. The biggest one we can find. She grinned. With a view of the bayou? If we can swing it. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Thanks. For what? For choosing me. I kissed the top of her head. Always. From now on. The rain kept falling outside. But inside it felt different. Like the water was finally going down. 2 weeks later the first desperate call came. My phone lit up with Mom's name while I was making breakfast for Fern. I let it ring until voicemail picked up. She left a message. Aaron, we need to talk. The bank called. The mortgage payment didn't go through. They're sending a notice. Call me back. I deleted it without replying. 5 minutes later Dad called. Same thing. Short message. The insurance agent said, coverage lapsed. We can't afford this. What's going on? I didn't answer. Fern looked up from her cereal. Was that Grandma? Yeah. I put the phone face down. She nodded slowly. They sound scared. They are. Good. She went back to eating. No more questions. No guilt. Just quiet acceptance. The calls kept coming. Every day, a new number. Mom, Dad, my sister. Voicemails stacked up. We can't make the house payment. The utilities are overdue. My niece's college sent a late notice. Tuition was due last week. Aaron, please. We're family. You can't just cut us off like this. I listened to one from my sister. Her voice cracked on cue. The kids are asking why we might have to move. How could you do this? I hit delete. No reply. No explanation. They knew why. Word spread fast in Homa. Small towns talk. A neighbor who worked at the bank mentioned the default notice to someone at church. Someone else saw the insurance cancellation letter on the counter during a visit. By the end of the week, people were asking questions. Sierra told me over coffee. Your mom was at the grocery store yesterday. Looked like she hadn't slept. Said something about the house being at risk. I shrugged. That's what happens when the checks stop. Sierra nodded. They thought it would never end. It did. Morgan called that afternoon. She works admin at the hospital. Here's everything. Your sister came by the office asking about insurance reinstatement. Said it was an error. They told her no error. Coverage was voluntarily removed. She left crying. I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. Fern overheard. Is Aunt Erin okay? She's figuring it out. Like we did. Fern smiled small. Yeah, like we did. The next day, a letter arrived at Sierra's, forwarded from my old address. From the mortgage company. Final notice before foreclosure proceedings. 30 days to cure the default or the house goes to auction. I opened it in front of Fern. She read over my shoulder. That's their house. Was. I folded the letter back. They had choices. They chose to close the door on you. This is what follows. She thought about it. Do you think they'll lose it? Probably. Banks don't wait. She nodded. Good. I put the letter in the trash. No ceremony. Just gone. My sister tried one last time. Not a call. A certified letter. Hand-delivered. She wrote it herself. Long paragraphs about how hard things were. How the kids were scared. How I was punishing the whole family over one misunderstanding. She asked for just enough to cover the mortgage this month. Said she'd pay me back. Promised. I read it once. Then tore it in half. Dropped the pieces in the recycling bin. No reply. No negotiation. Done. Word kept spreading. A cousin called Donald at the hospital. Said my parents were asking around for loans. No one bit. Small towns remember. People who had borrowed from me in the past now asked how I was doing. Not them. Me. I told them the truth. We're fine. Better than fine. They nodded like they understood. The foreclosure notice turned into a public listing online. The house appeared on auction sites. Photos of the front yard. The porch where Fern had stood waiting. I scrolled past it once. Didn't linger. Didn't screenshot. Just closed the tab. Fern saw me do it. She didn't ask questions. She just sat beside me and kept drawing. Donald came home that evening with takeout. He set the bags down. Your dad called the station today. Said the auction date is set. I nodded. I know. He looked at me. You okay? Yeah. For the first time in a long time. He sat down. Fern too? She's great. She's drawing again. No more waiting for approval. He smiled small. Good. We ate together. No heavy talk. Just normal. Quiet. Safe. Outside the water had receded completely. The bayou was calm again. Some things stay flooded longer than others. But not us. Not anymore. The official letters started arriving in the mail. First was the mortgage notice. Red ink across the top. Final demand. 30 days to bring the account current or foreclosure proceedings begin. I opened it at Sierra's kitchen table while Fern was at the community center for an art class. The amount past due stared back at me. Almost $10,000. I folded the letter neatly and set it aside. No anger. No satisfaction. Just fact. Next came the insurance cancellation confirmation. Health coverage terminated effective immediately. No appeal. No grace period. Dad's prescriptions would be out of pocket now. Mom's checkups too. I read the fine print twice. Voluntary removal by policyholder. That was me. I placed it in the same stack. No second thoughts. Then the college billing statement for my niece. Balance due in full. Last semester's tuition unpaid. The school had already flagged her account. Registration hold until cleared. My sister had texted me the week before asking for a one-time extension. I hadn't replied. Now the letter made it official. No more deferrals. No more extensions. Just consequences. Sierra walked in while I was sorting the envelopes. More bad news? I nodded. All of it. She sat down. How much total? Around $45,000 in arrears if they don't pay soon. She whistled low. That's a lot for a retired couple and a single mom. I shrugged. It was always a lot. They just never felt it before. She looked at the stack. You keeping those? Evidence. In case they try to spin it. She nodded. Smart. Fern came home that afternoon with paint on her hands. She saw the letters on the table. More from them? Yeah. Bank, insurance, school. She picked up the foreclosure notice. This means the house? Probably. She set it down carefully. Are you going to help them? No. I already helped for 18 years. She thought about it. Good. They didn't help me. I hugged her. Exactly. My sister tried one last time. Not a call. A certified letter. Hand-delivered. She wrote it herself. Long paragraphs about how hard things were. How the kids were scared. How I was punishing the whole family over one misunderstanding. She asked for just enough to cover the mortgage this month. Said she'd pay me back. Promised. I read it once. Then tore it in half. Dropped the pieces in the recycling bin. No reply. No negotiation. Done. Word kept spreading. A cousin called Donald at the hospital. Said my parents were asking around for loans. No one bit. Small towns, remember. People who had borrowed from me in the past now asked how I was doing. Not them. Me. I told them the truth. We're fine. Better than fine. They nodded like they understood. The foreclosure notice turned into a public listing online. The house appeared on auction sites, photos of the front yard, the porch where Fern had stood waiting. I scrolled past it once. Didn't linger. Didn't screenshot. Just closed the tab. Fern saw me do it. She didn't ask questions. She just sat beside me and kept drawing. Donald came home that evening with takeout. He set the bags down. Your dad called the station today. Said the auction date is set. I nodded. I know. He looked at me. You okay? Yeah. For the first time in a long time. He sat down. Fern too. She's great. She's drawing again. No more waiting for approval. He smiled small. Good. We ate together. No heavy talk. Just normal. Quiet. Safe. Outside the water had receded completely. The bayou was calm again. Some things stay flooded longer than others. But not us. Not anymore. 1 year later, the house on the bayou is gone. The foreclosure auction happened quietly last spring. A developer bought it for pennies on the dollar. Plans to turn it into vacation rentals. My parents moved into a small rental trailer on the edge of town. 2 bedrooms, no yard, no view. They tell people it's cozy, less to maintain. My sister and her 3 kids squeezed into a 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. She works double shifts at a diner now. No more free rent. No more waiting for checks. The college tuition for my niece got paid somehow. Loans probably. Or she dropped to part-time. I don't ask. I don't need to know. I don't speak to them anymore. No calls. No texts. No holiday cards with fake sentiments. The last message from my mom was 6 months ago. A short text. We miss Fern. Hope you're both well. I read it. Deleted it. Blocked the number. Fern saw me do it. She didn't say anything. Just squeezed my hand once and went back to her sketch pad. We live in a small 2-bedroom apartment near the hospital now. 2nd floor. Big windows facing the water. Fern has the room with the best light. She turned it into a studio. Easels, sketchbooks, paint everywhere. Her teacher at the community center says she's one of the best she's seen. Fern draws houses mostly. Open doors. Wide windows. Girls walking through them without looking back. She framed one for me. A girl standing on a porch. Hand on the doorknob. Sunlight pouring in. I hung it in the living room. Right where everyone can see it. Donald comes home every night with stories from the hospital. He still works extra shifts sometimes, but never like before. We eat dinner together. No tension. No unspoken rules. Fern talks about her art. I talk about patience. He listens. Really listens. On weekends we drive to the coast. Walk the beach. No agenda. No family obligations. Just us. I don't regret it. Not one part. I spent 18 years thinking support meant love. That if I kept paying, kept fixing, kept quiet, eventually they'd see me. See Fern. They never did. They saw convenience. A resource. An ATM with a heartbeat. When the money stopped, the mask fell off. No apologies. No change. Just blame. That's when I knew. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. It doesn't mean sacrifice without end. It doesn't mean accepting less for your child because someone else needs more. Fern turned 17 last month. We celebrated with pancakes and a small cake. No big party. Just us 3. She blew out the candles and made a wish. She wouldn't tell me what it was. But later she said quietly, I wished for more days like this. No waiting. No proving. Just being wanted. I hugged her tight. You'll always be wanted here. Always. Sometimes I think about the old house. The porch where she stood. The door that never opened. I don't feel sad. I feel grateful. That moment showed me what I needed to see. That love isn't a debt you pay forever. That family is who shows up when it matters. Not who takes when it's convenient. Aunt Sierra still calls every week. She visits. Brings cookies. Tells Fern she's proud. That's real family. Not the one you inherit. The one you choose. If I could go back and tell my younger self one thing, it would be this. Protect your child first. You don't owe anyone your peace. Not your parents. Not your siblings. Not tradition. Not guilt. When someone shows you they won't open the door for your kid, believe them. Stop knocking. Stop paying. Start building your own place. One with open doors. One where no one has to stand outside waiting. Fern called me from her room last night. Mom, come look. She held up her latest drawing. A girl stepping through a bright doorway. Behind her, an old house fading into mist. Ahead, light, wide open space. I smiled. It's perfect. She grinned. The girl doesn't look back. No, she doesn't have to.